Let me tell you something right now. A high-value woman don't raise her voice. She raises her standards. She don't waste her breath begging a man to treat her right. Why? Because she knows what she brings to the table. In fact, she is the table. She knows her worth, deep down in her soul. It's not something she questions. It's not something she looks for outside of herself. It's not based on likes, validation, or someone staying or leaving. It's rooted in who she is, not in what someone else thinks she is. That kind of woman doesn't chase because she understands that what's meant for her will not have to be hunted down. She doesn't run after a man hoping to be seen. She doesn't beg for love because she's already full of it from within. When she walks into a room, she doesn't need to speak to be noticed. Her presence says enough. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. She carries herself like someone who has already done the work, fought through the doubt, cried the tears behind closed doors, and come out stronger, wiser, and grounded. She knows she's the prize, not in a prideful way, but in a peaceful way. She doesn't see herself as above others, but she refuses to settle for less than she deserves. That's why she doesn't chase. She chooses. She chooses who has earned a seat at her table. She chooses what kind of energy she allows in her life. She chooses how she responds when disrespected. And make no mistake, disrespect doesn't get a second chance with her because she's not afraid to walk away. She's not attached to staying in places that drain her spirit or damage her peace. She's not desperate for companionship. She values connection, but not at the cost of self-respect. She's not playing games. She's not keeping score. She doesn't have time to manipulate or compete. Why? Because her value isn't in how many men want her. It's in how she wants herself. She's intentional, and if she gives you her time, her energy, her presence, it's because she sees potential in you, not because she needs something from you. She doesn't need saving. She doesn't need fixing. She's not waiting for someone to complete her story. She's already the author, and when she speaks, it's not loud. It's clear, it's honest, it's strong. She doesn't sugarcoat her standards or shrink herself to be more likable. She knows her voice matters, and she uses it wisely, not to impress, but to express. She doesn't sell herself short for fear of being alone. She knows that solitude with self-worth is far better than company with compromise. In a world where people are taught to chase, a high-value woman rewrites the rules. She sits back, does her inner work, holds her head high, and lets her life do the talking. Her calmness is her confidence. Her silence is her power. She doesn't make noise to get noticed. She simply lives in a way that cannot be ignored. She sets standards, not ultimatums. There's a difference, and it's a powerful one. Ultimatums are about fear, about trying to force someone's hand, about issuing threats in hopes of changing behavior. But a high-value woman doesn't operate like that. She doesn't need to make threats because she's already made choices. Her standards are not warnings. They are boundaries written in confidence, drawn from experience, and guarded with grace. She's not trying to scare someone into treating her right. She simply won't entertain anything less. She's not loud about what she expects. She's not argumentative about what she deserves. She just lives it. And if you can't rise to meet her there, she won't fight you. She'll free you. That's the quiet power of a woman who knows her standards are not negotiable. They're not there to control others. They're there to protect her. She doesn't need a dramatic exit to prove her point. She just understands when her spirit is no longer being fed, when her energy is being drained, when her presence is being taken for granted, and she acts accordingly. There's a quiet strength in her walk. She moves with clarity. She doesn't make people guess where she stands. She communicates with honesty, but never with desperation. She makes it clear what kind of connection she's available for, what kind of love she's willing to give, and what kind of energy she refuses to tolerate. She gives people the opportunity to meet her there, but she doesn't beg them to. She's not in the business of forcing anyone to grow. Growth has to be chosen and respect has to be mutual. She doesn't stay in places that make her question her worth. She doesn't wait around hoping someone will finally see her value. She already sees it. That's why she walks away from disrespect without a second thought. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's learned the hard way that love without respect isn't love at all. She's not trying to punish anyone when she leaves. She's simply preserving her peace. Her exit is not revenge, it's resolution. People may call her cold for walking away, but they don't see the warmth she gave before she left. They don't see the chances she extended, the grace she offered, the patience she practiced. But when the line has been crossed, she doesn't need to scream it. She just moves on, because she knows her silence speaks louder than any ultimatum ever could. Her absence becomes her answer. A high-value woman doesn't demand to be chosen. She chooses herself over and over again. She chooses her peace, her growth, her future. And anyone who wants to be part of that journey has to bring more than potential. They have to bring presence, consistency, and respect, because she's not afraid to be alone. She's afraid to settle, and that's why her standards stand firm even when her heart is involved. She speaks with grace, not games. Her words aren't used as weapons, and her silence isn't a strategy to confuse. When she speaks, it's not to stir insecurity or provoke a reaction. It's to express truth with clarity. A high-value woman has no interest in mind games. She's not trying to make someone chase her through confusion or test their loyalty through silence. Her communication is intentional. It reflects her emotional maturity, her inner peace, and her respect for both herself and the person in front of her. She doesn't sugarcoat the truth, but she also doesn't use honesty as an excuse to be harsh. She understands that grace doesn't mean weakness. It means strength under control. It's easy to raise your voice, to use sarcasm, or to resort to manipulation when you're upset. But she chooses a different path. She chooses calm over chaos. She chooses understanding over assumptions. She chooses conversations that build, not destroy. That's what makes her different. That's what makes her unforgettable. She doesn't play hard to get. She simply is hard to get for those who don't know how to value her. But she doesn't make people guess where they stand with her. She says what she means, and she means what she says. There are no mixed signals, no emotional roller coasters, no games of come closer, and then go away. Her boundaries are clear, but so is her kindness. Her firmness doesn't cancel out her compassion. In fact, it's her ability to hold both that makes her powerful. She knows how to express disappointment without demeaning. She can call out bad behavior without attacking character. She can speak her truth without tearing someone else down, and because of this, her words carry weight. People remember what she says, not because she shouted, but because she spoke with intention. She doesn't aim to win arguments, she aims to build understanding. She listens as much as she speaks, and when she does speak, you can feel the balance of wisdom and warmth in every sentence. Her grace is not just in what she says, but how she says it. Even in disagreement, she doesn't belittle. Even in frustration, she doesn't insult. She knows emotional maturity is more powerful than emotional manipulation. She refuses to control through guilt, jealousy, or silence. Instead, she empowers, she encourages, she leads with love, not leverage, and if someone isn't ready for that level of communication, she doesn't lower herself to their level. She simply removes herself from the conversation. Not in anger, but in peace, because she knows her value isn't in being understood by everyone. It's in staying true to who she is. She'd rather be quiet than chaotic. She'd rather walk alone than talk in circles. Her communication is a reflection of her soul, elevated, intentional, and always rooted in respect. She listens to understand, not to react. That's the difference between someone who's emotionally mature and someone who's emotionally reactive. A high-value woman doesn't sit in conversations just waiting for her turn to speak. She leans in, not with impatience, but with intention. Her goal isn't to win the conversation. It's to truly hear what's being said, both in words and in tone, in pauses and in posture. She's not just catching phrases, she's catching feelings. She listens with her eyes as much as her ears. Her power isn't loud or aggressive. It's subtle, calm, and deeply rooted in emotional intelligence. She doesn't allow her emotions to hijack her responses. She lets her intuition guide her, not her insecurities. She knows that reacting out of anger, fear, or pride may feel satisfying in the moment, but it rarely brings real resolution. So instead, she listens fully, actively. She takes in the full energy of a conversation before choosing her words. And when she speaks, it's not out of impulse, it's out of insight. She understands that not everything needs a reaction, and not every conflict needs to turn into a war. Some things just need a space to be heard. She's strong enough to pause before responding because she knows the power of the pause. That moment between what's said and how you respond can define the entire direction of a relationship. She uses that moment wisely. She doesn't let ego take the wheel. She lets empathy lead. When someone speaks to her, they feel seen, not judged. They feel understood, not interrogated. And that's what sets her apart. It's not that she agrees with everything. She doesn't. It's not that she accepts disrespect. She won't. But she gives people the grace to be human. She recognizes that behind every sharp word is often a deeper wound. Behind every defensive tone might be fear or past trauma. And though she doesn't excuse bad behavior, she does try to understand it before addressing it. She's the kind of woman who can de-escalate tension just by how she listens. She creates an environment where people feel safe enough to be real. And in that space, truth flows more freely. People open up, not because they're pushed, but because they're pulled in by her calm presence and her sincere attention. That's emotional intelligence at its finest. She reads the room, not just the words. She senses when something's off, even if it's not said. She pays attention to body language, tone, energy shifts. She knows when someone's hurting, even if they're pretending to be okay. That awareness gives her an advantage, not to manipulate, but to connect. She uses that sensitivity not as a tool for control, but as a path to deeper understanding. Her presence itself is healing because it invites honesty without fear of judgment. She communicates confidence, not control. Her presence doesn't overpower, it empowers. A high-value woman understands that real strength isn't about domination, it's about influence. She doesn't need to bark orders, raise her voice, or micromanage to feel secure. Her confidence is quiet but unshakable, and it shows in how she speaks, how she carries herself, and how she treats others. She doesn't see a relationship as a power struggle. She sees it as a partnership. And she brings the kind of energy that doesn't demand respect. It naturally receives it. She knows who she is, and because of that, she doesn't need to control anyone else. Her identity isn't wrapped up in whether or not someone follows her lead. She's not trying to win arguments or prove she's always right. She's not measuring her worth by how much control she can gain. Instead, she focuses on being the best version of herself, and that alone becomes the spark that ignites growth in others. When a man is around her, he doesn't feel small. He feels challenged in the best way. She inspires without intimidation. She uplifts without overshadowing. She has no interest in emasculating a man because she understands that leadership in a relationship doesn't mean one person standing above the other. It means two people walking side by side, both in their strength, both in their purpose. Her confidence doesn't push others down. It brings them up, and the right man recognizes that. He doesn't feel threatened by her power. He's motivated by it. Her words are bold but not brash. She speaks with clarity, not coercion. She makes her needs known, but not through guilt or pressure. She says what she means without needing to manipulate someone into agreement. That's what separates her from someone who simply wants control. She's not afraid to let people be who they are, because she knows she has the courage to walk away if who they are isn't aligned with who she is. She gives space not because she's detached, but because she understands that freedom breeds authenticity. She doesn't want anyone to feel forced to love her. She wants them to choose to. That choice is where real connection lies. And because she isn't trying to control the outcome, she becomes even more powerful. She allows room for growth, for change, for truth. That openness becomes her strength, not her weakness. She leads by example. She invests in herself. She keeps her standards not as threats, but as beacons. She stays true to her values even when it's uncomfortable. And in doing so, she inspires the kind of man who isn't intimidated by her light, but determined to match it. Not because she demanded it, but because she reminded him, through her presence, her grace, and her confidence, what rising really looks like. She doesn't beg to be loved. She's already full. A high-value woman doesn't enter a relationship with a void, hoping someone else will fill it. She's not searching for someone to complete her story because she's already the author. Her self-worth is not based on whether someone chooses her, stays with her, or validates her existence. She is loved before she's ever loved by another. She's secure within herself, and that security is the foundation of everything she builds in her life. She doesn't chase attention because she's not starving for it. She doesn't fear silence because she enjoys her own company. She's spent time doing the inner work, healing old wounds, setting boundaries, finding joy in solitude. And that work shows. When she walks into a room, she carries the kind of confidence that doesn't shout. It just is, and when she steps into a relationship, she brings peace, not pressure. She's not trying to prove her worth. She knows it, and she chooses a partner who knows it too. She doesn't ask, "Am I enough?" because she's already answered that question for herself. That's why she doesn't cling. That's why she doesn't beg. That's why she doesn't lose herself just to be kept. If someone walks away, she doesn't fall apart, because she was never leaning on them for her sense of self to begin with. Of course, she feels deeply. Of course, she loves hard. But she never loves someone else more than she loves herself. That balance is what keeps her grounded. She doesn't rely on a relationship to give her life meaning. She brings meaning to the relationship. She knows what she wants, and more importantly, she knows what she won't tolerate. Her standards aren't about playing hard to get. They're about protecting her energy. She values connection, but not at the cost of her identity. She doesn't shift to be more desirable. She doesn't dim her light to make someone else feel comfortable. She shows up as she is, authentic, whole, and fully aware of her value. She offers love as an overflow, not as a transaction. She doesn't give affection hoping to get it back. She gives because it's who she is. But if the love isn't returned in a healthy, respectful way, she won't stay and try to convince someone to choose her. She walks away with grace, knowing that leaving is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of strength. When a man meets her, he doesn't find a woman waiting to be rescued. He finds a woman already standing strong. She doesn't need to be completed. She's not half of anything. She's whole, and because of that, the love she offers is pure. It's not desperate. It's not needy. It's powerful. It's peaceful, and it's free. She's not looking to be filled. She's looking to be matched, and only a man who is full in himself will recognize the depth of what she brings.